Oh, that's cheating. I was already in, guys. You didn't need to bring back the old theme. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Second episode of House of the Dragon is dropped, called The Rogue Prince, and we pick up 6 months after the last episode. Um, I just want to start off by saying, yes, the old theme did kind of get the juices flowing again. It does suck, though, because I think that theme is so locked into Game of Thrones. I would have liked to have heard a new score or something new for that specific to House of the Dragon, but you're not gonna get me to poo-poo and get too upset about having that old thing back. So, like I said in the previous video, King Viserys is considered to be feeble and weak, and what we learned in this episode is that the Red Keep is sort of being encroached upon by many people, within and without without the actual king's court, that they see a sign of weakness. They see a person who is not remarried. They see a person who, while it is cool and he's being progressive, uh, he's not. Even Rhaenyra says that the reason he was chosen was to banish Daemon, not because he actually believed in her. But he's chosen his female daughter to be the heir. It has left a bad taste in people's mouth, and it is his court's sort of ruling that he needs to find an heir and he needs to find one quickly. He's got these crab folks coming in from the step zones, sort of surrounding and blocking the shipping ports, the shipping paths that he has, which is a major thing that the Red Keep sort of has at the moment. They're taking that away, and so King Viserys is getting counsel from everybody, and they all are sort of kind of coming together and saying, "Hey, you need to pick a wife, and you need to do so quickly." Viserys keeps saying, "Hey, I'm not looking for war. If it comes to us, I will be prepared to do so." While everyone else is saying, "Hey, you need to protect this and go out and stop this before it comes to us." And it's just two different modes of thinking about the war or the imposing war. Look, what's crazy about the series is that we all sort of know what happens to the Targaryen bloodline. It gets wiped out for the most part. And so we know the downfall is coming to these folks. Now, the speed and the way that it does, that is what we're here for. But it's sort of fascinating to see that King Viserys is sort of the linchpin that sort of begins the downfall because he is um, reticent to do some things and get his hands a little dirty. So 6 months post last episode, and like I said, Rhaenyra is the next in heir, but the king is still there doing his kingly things, and so she is still doing the duties that she was doing before. She's still getting the cups for the men of the King's Council. Nothing has changed as far as what her day to day chores are, which is not something she wants. She wants more. She's trying to sort of hear and listen to what the council and give her ideas, but they don't want to have that. She interrupts their council about what to do about what's sort of imposing and coming in, and they banish her. They banish her from the room like, "Hey, yeah, stop talking. You get into men's business. Go pick who's going to be the king's court. Go do that because we don't want you here." It's very much a dismissal. They have not, King Viserys and Rhaenyra have not actually had a full-on conversation since the passing of their mother. It's just more than like two words that are said, and they've kind of just been passing ships. Some of that is with grief. You have people dealing with grief in their own way, but a lot of that is too. Rhaenyra knows that her dad only put her in that spot for show, to make a point to Daemon, not really anything that she did or that he actually believes in. During her picking, which she does go do, she picks Sir Christian Cole, who is the one that knocked Daemon off the horse in that little tournament before in last episode. And she picks him because he's the only one who's had any battle. All the rest of them have done like, oh, they stopped this beggar or they did this one thing, but they haven't really actually been battle tested. So she picked that person. That's the one thing that she could do, and they had to listen to her. That kind of gave her some sort of a power. The crux of this episode, though, is to just show what it is for Rhaenyra to kind of go through being the next in line, but no one really respecting that or no one really believing that. You know what's bad, Viserys? when you tell Lady Hightower, don't tell anybody that we're having these talks because the talks that you're having with her, you shouldn't be having. But he specifically was like, don't tell Rhaenyra this because I don't. The conversation that he is having with Lady Hightower, he should sort of be having with his daughter. Um, the openness, the being honest, the being telling, and he lets her know that hey, I haven't spoken to my daughter in some time, and I would love to. Lady Hightower does what she can to kind of put the seeds in, sort of. She has the ear of both, and she lets Rhaenyra know that hey, maybe you should make that first effort and go ahead and have a conversation with him, and she does, and they have a conversation, and they kind of not bury the hatchet, but they let some things be known and how they feel about things, and it gets out. While this episode is very much about Rhaenyra seeing how people don't respect her, she also sees the writing on the wall. She knows that this is a world that isn't going to accept a queen being the next person who is on the Iron Throne. Rhaenys even puts her in her place a little bit too, and like, hey, I just want you to know, men would rather this whole realm burn down than see a person like us at the helm. And it sort of hits there that she knows, she sees what's happening. What's crazy about this, she sees this and she gets that kind of message after basically Lord Corlys and Rhaenys have petitioned that they join, King Viserys joins their houses with the Valyrians and the Targaryens and joins their homes by offering up their 12-year-old daughter, Lena. And there's a wild sequence to see King Viserys and Lena walking through the garden, kind of talking and kind of getting the lay of the land of how this is going to work. And he's just sort of filling it out. And then this 12-year-old girl comes in and is like, hey, I'm here for you to pop out some kids. You know, we can get this bloodline popping. We're going to keep it all together. She's like, I'm 12, but at 14, my mom said I can get it in for you. Wow. And while she can't hear the thing, Rhaenyra sees it, and that's when she kind of knows, like, yeah, everybody is trying to do their thing best, and it makes sense for the court. It just sucks that her succession just keeps getting put to question by everybody, which leads to why she does some things that are dangerous for her bloodline, and being the last remaining heir for Viserys, I can see why he gets upset, but essentially, Daemon comes back, and because he knows the lay of the land, he knows things, he sneaks in, and he steals an egg. A dragon egg. Now, I guess the rule of thumb here is that when a baby is born, the dragon egg gets put in the crib with whomever that baby is. This was the egg that was supposed to be in the crib for Rhaenyra's little brother that is no longer here. Daemon steals that egg. And so Viserys in his court is like, yo, we got to go get this dude. Viserys is like, I'm going to go get him myself. And they're like, no, hold on. You're the only male heir of that bloodline. Let's go ahead and hold up a bit. You're only king. Stay slow your roll. I'm your hand. I'll go get it. So Hightower goes to go retrieve it, not before giving a little nugget in his daughter's ear, like, hey, get back in that bedroom. Get back in there. Let's get his ear. Gross. So Hightower in the court and his newly appointed Sir Christian roll out to the bridge, and they meet with Daemon and his crew. Basically, the Night Watch is still in his possession. They still follow Daemon. He has the egg, and they're basically having a penis measuring contest out there on the bridge. Daemon has this woman that he has not had it. She's not actually pregnant. The reason why he said he stole the egg is because, hey, I'm marrying this woman in 2 days. I need you to come, brother, to respect this, and I'm going to get her pregnant. But she's not. That's not happening. She doesn't even really want that. It all sort of starts falling apart to the point where swords are drawn. And then Rhaenyra shows up on a dragon, looking like a badass. Much to the chagrin of her father. Her father is not approved off on this, told her to stand down. But she gets on that dragon, lands it, and then comes and has a convo with her uncle. And basically just lays it out like, hey, your problem isn't with the court or any of these people here, or even with my dad. It's with me. And if you want the succession, if you want to be the next in line, the heir so bad, strike me down. Take me. And he can't do it. Now, I don't know if it's a matter if he doesn't want to do it or if he can't do it, but he hands the egg back off, tosses the egg back off to her, and walks off because he can't do anything to her. And it is a moment that shows her worth, who she is, how brave she is, but also how stupid she is. Because if she died, if he did kill her in that moment, there's no more heir for Viserys. He's going to be a mess, he's going to be a king as a shit show. And so he freaks out on Rhaenyra, understandably so. He's like, you are my heir, I love you. They both have a little bit more of a tit for tat and understanding of how much pain they've been going through and how he can't lose her. And he then officially tells her the writing's on the wall. And he's like, yeah, I know, you got to find an heir. Go ahead and find an heir. I think the smart move is having Laena and combining the Valerian house and the Targaryen house. It just makes sense for everything. It'll be what's best for business. They have a whole bunch of shipping ports. Lord Corlys is well respected. It will be the smart move for everything that we do. And so that is what it seems like we're going. Although I will say this, script-wise, this is the one part of this episode that I think is the weakest because it was clear to me that he was never going to pick Laena. Everything was on the raw, like that being the final scene and trying to second to final scene, and sort of trying to be the button of like, oh, he didn't choose Laena, he's choosing someone else. We've seen it. All the conversations that he's had with Laena, everything, all the seeds have been planted that Lady Hightower is the person that he's going to be with. He has a connection with Alicent. And so, yes, when he gets to the court and he says, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. And y'all have been telling me that I need to get married, so here's who I'm going to marry. I'm going to marry Lady Hightower. She's a nervous Nelly about it. She's picking at her thing and picking her fingers all that time. But she's like, okay, Lord Corlys ain't feeling it. And also Rhaenyra's not feeling it. Because for her, she thought the business of marrying Laena made sense. Like, that part I get. If I'm giving up my succession and there's a possibility that a male heir is going to be done, then I'm going to do it to him. Do it to her. With Lady Hightower, she feels a bit betrayed. Because she now is like, how are you close enough to her to marry her? Like, how do you know her well enough to she just comes out of nowhere? No one has submitted her as a name. She doesn't have enough wealth or business for combining. So there is something that you two have had that I'm not aware of that I should have been, considering one, you're my father, and two, you're my best friend. You two have pulled the wool over my eyes, and now I'm just out here looking like a damn idiot. And so she's furious. It is going to be interesting to see, because at some point, I know Olivia Cook plays Lady Hightower, there's going to be an age up. And so it's going to be a strain, I would imagine, on their relationship as we go along, because she feels betrayed by another person. The only other woman that she felt like she could use as a confidant, she now can't. And she's sort of now on this island on her own, while his dad now talks to her best friend, former best friend, and makes love to her former best friend, and has a kid with her former best friend. It just gets real grimy. And so the final sequence is, which wasn't a shocker to me, is that Lord Valerian was like, yo, Damon, let's talk. Let's have a truce. Let's get this business in, because your brother's effing up. What I do love about this sequence at the end, though, is while it was very obvious and I could see it coming from a mile away, what was great is that, like I said in the first, he still loves his brother. He still respects his brother. He just is hurt by his brother. There's a moment in this scene where Lord Valerian just keeps bashing, keeps bad-mouthing King Viserys. And Lord Damon is like, yo, real quick, let me let you in on something real quick. I can talk about my brother all I want. I need you to never put my brother's name in your mouth again. It's one of those like, oh yeah. It's the thing that kids and brothers and sisters do all the time. Like, they might fight all they want, but you don't let somebody else outside of that family start talking. That's kind of what happens there. Although it's a little bit more serious here because death can happen. So all in all, a solid episode. This one, again, like I said, it all stays within house. It's all still within those walls. We don't really get anything that comes outside of this castle. This is very much setting up who wants what. My issue that I'm kind of having at the moment, and I still like this episode, and I still like this series, and I'm fully invested, but what I'm having a problem with at the moment is that there does not seem to be a clear cut, this guy is just treacherous or just a villain. at the moment. And some of that might come as we get older. We might start seeing more of that. But how we had Littlefinger already kind of set up, I don't really have that character where I'm kind of like, that person is terrible. Yes, Lord Damon is bad, is quote unquote now the villain, but it makes sense for him, and he still has a code. He's like, I'm not killing my niece, I'm not killing my brother. There's still a pathway that he won't cross to get what he wants yet. I need somebody on the other end that's like, all right, I'm gonna start wiping some heads and knocking some heads down. And I'm sure it'll come. It's just like maybe I just want to get there quicker. I also need an action sequence, and it looks like from the trailer that we're going to get in the next episode, we're going to get that. But I think we've had a bloody sequence in the first one. This one was a lot more talking and discussing and establishing further relationships. Because like I said, the biggest thing in this was to show how close Rhaenyra and Alicent were, and now that's going to get splintered. We need some type of fight sequence. And once that happens, I think the show will be kind of fully developed and off on its own and off and running. But all in all, another solid episode. The Road Kings are really good. I just think there's a few things that can be done a little bit better. And for this one to be just the second episode, so many things were blatantly obvious. The Lady Hightower being chosen type of thing was one, and Lord Valyrian going to go to Targaryen, Daemon Targaryen, after being betrayed. Those two things weren't surprising to me, and so it left a little bit of a bad taste in the back end of the episode. Whereas I think the front end, where you have the conversation between Rhaenys and Rhaenyra, talking about like, yeah, we women ain't gonna never. This is our lot in life. You gonna get them cups like you always been doing, because don't nobody here respect you. That was a great sequence. I love the sequence between King Targaryen and his daughter. I also really love the sequence between King Viserys and Alicent when they're having that combo and he's like, my daughter won't listen to me. It's clear that he has a confidant in that. And so that when that sequence happened earlier in this episode, it made the obvious choice at the very end. No matter who was put in, like no matter what made more sense as a business decision, we knew we were going to go that way. And it's just clear that this king makes decisions not based on business, but on emotion. He chose Rhaenyra off of emotion to spite his brother. He chose Alicent because she makes him feel a way and a connection that his wife used to give him that he was not going to get from a 12-year-old in Lena. Emotional ass kings. What did you guys think about the second episode of House of the Dragon? Go leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. Still on? I think so far, like I said, this has been a solid 2, but I needed to pick up the pace a little bit. And I really do think that because lineage and being kings and having heirs is so important, I don't know when the age up comes, but we need to kind of get there pretty quick because seeing them as little girls, Lena included, makes it for difficult for me because I'm normal. It makes it hard for me to sort of see the king with her in that form at that age. And granted, Olivia doesn't look much older than the girl that's playing, but we know that, hey, she at least is of age to kind of do some of the gross things that need to be done to make this go on. But what do you guys think? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI, or you can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts, we're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.